back to the fifth quarter here on the first edition of the 2012 Riddle District Football League program. My name's Yendi here with Gav for this massive program. We just had a quick look at 6 teams in the senior team. Now, Gav is just polishing up the old sledgehammer, mate. You're winding up, greasing up the arms a bit, ready to just hit this for 6.
Yeah, no, look, I'm trying to be nice to these clubs. They do work hard, so we'll try and continue that in the second half. So we'll move on to Riddle, who currently sit 4th, 9 wins and 3 losses. Of course, they've had the extra game because they played on the weekend against Sunbury. Leading goal kicker Brian Ruffle with 27 goals, and their best performance was their performance on the weekend against the Kangaroos.
Just that 1-point result. They gave it all. They weren't really. They just come out of nowhere to pinch that one.
Yeah, and that was really the point. Their season was on the line in a battle for 3rd spot and or a top 3 spot at least, and getting that win was really ultra important for them. Their best and fairest fancy at the moment, from the games that I've seen and from all reports, is Matt Zammit. Coming back off a broken leg last year, his form's just been superb.
You wouldn't know it, would you?
Absolutely not. And the way he throws himself at the football, and especially in the contested situations, unbelievable. His confidence is up and he's performing that way. The Bombers had a slow start to the year. They had a slow pre-season. Probably didn't put in as they should have, and it showed in the early rounds of the year. But they're building momentum towards the business end of the season. They're locked in a fight for the top 3. They've got a tough 3-week patch, which included the Sunbury game on the weekend, and I believe they've got Diggers Rest and Romsey in the next 2 weeks. But they've got a soft finish to finish off the season. Their strength is their experience and just the talent that they've got on the list. I mean, right across the board, they're a really talented football side. Really talented list, always have been.
Matched by a great reserve side, and players can.
And depth is a massive thing for them. Their weakness is that they can get found out a little bit when the game breaks into one-on-one contests. When that ball's moving fast, we've seen in the Diggers Rest game, they were caught in one-on-one contests and they were outplayed comprehensively. Again, on the weekend in the first half, Sunbury dominated the first half, broke the ball out into space and really put them under pressure, and that's when they're at their worst, Riddle. They just don't cover as well as when the game is a little slower and to their liking and to their pace. I think they'll have 13 wins and 5 losses, and I think on percentage they'll finish 4th.
Big call there, Gav.
Yes.
See in a couple of months' time how that all unfolds.
The Rockbank Rams are sitting 8th at the moment on 3 wins, 8 losses. Their leading goal kicker is Mitch Stratton with 12 goals, and their best performance was the round 5 win against Kilmore. Their best and fairest fancy, again, I'm going for one of the young blokes on this one, and that's Jake Armistead, who was really impressive in the under-18s carnivals last year. The Rams have been inconsistent this year. They're inconsistent performers, and they've probably dropped games again. Similar to Macedon games they have been expected to win, they've dropped. The Woodend game early in the year was a prime example of that one.
Almost a bit like Kilmore in a sense that they had high expectations to build on from last year.
Absolutely, and I mean there was plenty in the media around their area about who they had recruited, and their expectation was high, even though they had lost a few players from their list for the year before.
I think from memory they've got about a dozen new guys in the senior team, so completely new makeup to the
absolutely
the senior environment.
So overall, with the guys that have come into the side, they've been disappointing. Their effort in games hasn't been to where it should be. Once the game, which is strange from a Rockbank side in the past, because last year's Rockbank side was in the game with the top sides in the competition. They were within a kick of Sunbury. They were within a kick of Diggers Rest at 3/4 time. They were in the game. They're not doing that this year. They're dropping away badly when they're beaten.
They've arguably got a better list too.
And they certainly from the all reports they should really be up there. Their strength is they're strong in the ruck, and they have got plenty of run when the game is open. But their weakness is when the opposition side has momentum, they just can't stop it. I think they'll only pick up 1 more win for the year, and finish with 4 wins, 14 losses, and 10th spot.
Let's hope they can turn a few heads in the last couple of months.
The Redbacks, well, first on the ladder, 10 wins, 1 loss. Leading goal kicker is the little freak Matty Davidson with 71 goals. Their best performance so far was the round 10 win against Diggers Rest without question. Their best and fairest fancy at the moment would be Brad Mitchell, who's been dominant out on the wing for the Redbacks.
A bit underrated too, I think.
I think he is. He goes under the radar because of the names that are at Romsey, but I mean, we've seen him, once he moved to the wing last year, he was unstoppable, and it's proven to be the case again this year.
Yeah.
The team as a whole has been unstoppable since they lost in round one. They're flying. They're in great form. They do suffer from slow starts.
Yeah.
That's probably their weakness. They suffer from those slow starts. If they get too far behind, I mean, I don't know how far too far behind is, because last year they fell 10 goals behind Macedon by half time and hit the front in the last quarter. So I'm not sure how far too far behind is, but if they do get too far behind, they might find it hard to peg that back. They've dealt well with injuries and availabilities throughout the year. They've had a few injuries, they've had a few blokes unavailable, but they've covered it through the season since round one.
Yeah.
And look, their strength, just the pure talent on the list.
The best list in the comp.
They are the best list in the comp, and it's hard to go past that. And I mean, I'm not sure that anyone can really debate that. And their other strength is that they've got a real belief in themselves, and they're always in the contest. Like the example of these slow starts, they can go 10 goals down, and they still believe that they're in the contest.
Be interesting to see how they go on the probably a very muddy Riddle Reserve.
Yeah,
on
it'll
Saturday.
be a cracking game on the weekend. Sunbury Kangaroos, currently third, 9 wins, 3 losses. Chris Meacham leads their goal kicking with 48. Their best performance was a round 3 win against Riddle at Sunbury. And their best and fairest fancy at the moment would be Simon Bishop. The Roos are well balanced across the field. They from the back line, midfield, forward line, they don't have these big names as per se as the Romseys and Riddles, but they're really well balanced. They've worked out where their players play their best football, and they've got them in those positions.
Well, for me, Dan Gregory is probably one of the most underrated backmen going in
He's
the competition.
been fantastic.
He goes
this year.
quietly about it, but he shuts them down.
Yeah, he's gone from a half forward to a full back this year, and he's done a great job. I mean, on the weekend again, he kept Mick Allen out of the game until Mick left the field, and he's just had a great year. And all reports from up at Sunbury are that he's having a great year as well. Sunbury's biggest issue is they need to address their final quarters. 3 times this year against the other 3 sides in the top 4, they were in front at 3/4 time and lost. Against Riddle on the weekend, against Diggers Rest, and against Romsey, they led all 3 of those games and failed to get the job done.
Well, discipline as well. I mean, that
was my other one. The other thing they need to address is the discipline of the players at crucial moments of the game is really poor. And it needs to be worked on, and it's something that Kangaroos have to address because it's going to cost them a final.
Well, when they lost to Romsey, 4 50-metre penalties that resulted in goals, and on the weekend, like winning goal at Ben Sonigan kick, courtesy of a free kick.
Yep, and we also had the goal from Matthew Darby that was a result from a 50-metre penalty. And the third quarter, Cameron Casson had a shot at goal and was bundled over after the shot on goal and got a second kick without the ball returning to the centre. These things will cost you a final, and Sunbury really need to sort that out.
That's
and
just the reality. There's no
quickly.
picking the bones there. It's just the reality.
I've spoken to people at Sunbury as early as today and said the same thing. Until they can sort those discipline issues out, it will cost them a big game, and it'll probably cost them a final.
Where will they finish, mate?
I think they'll finish third. 13 wins, 5 losses. Their percentage is excellent. They're a really attacking side. They've got a superior percentage to Riddle. I can't see Riddle closing the gap, so I think they'll hold on to third spot.
And what have we got? It's the Mighty Pies.
Yeah, Wallen 5th on the ladder, 7 wins, 4 losses. Probably a little bit of a surprise. Everyone sort of rated the top 5 from last year to be the same top 5, but Wallen's given that a real shake this year. They're sitting in 5th spot. They're every chance to finish in 5th spot as well. Their leading goal kicker is Glenn Porter with 22 goals. Their best performance was the round 9 win against Macedon. They were fantastic that day. Best and fairest fancy. Look, I'm going to go back to Matt Robertson again. I know people will probably roll their eyes, but the reality is that when they win games of footy, Matt Robertson's the reason. They're accounting for the games they should win, and they're doing it comfortably. And that's the best thing about Wallen this year. In the past, they've dropped games they probably shouldn't have dropped. This year, the games they should win, they're winning.
Yep.
They do have troubles with the sides above them, though. They beat Macedon, which was great. but Macedon's probably on a level playing field with them at the moment. Those two sides are behind the top four. When they Wallen played Riddle a couple of weeks ago, Riddle gave them a little bit of a caning, even though they sort of closed the margin at some stage during the game. They've got a strong midfield, and their forward structure is really well balanced and really well set up. Their biggest question mark is defensively. They do leak goals to the top sides and leak them quickly. I have got them finishing 6th with 11 wins, 7 losses, so the draw that Macedon had will just get them over the line for that 5th spot.
Should be a very interesting finish there. And on to the last side that we've got, the mighty Woodend Hawks, who have gone through a transitional year under new coach Glenn Hopkins. Yeah, and look, Glenn's certainly got a task on his hands, but from what I've seen of the Hawks so far, I've seen them against Lansfield. While they were disappointed to lose that game, there was definitely some signs there, and they came up against Riddle just following that and pushed them, got within 4 or 5 goals at the end of the day. So there's an upside at the Hawks, so the Hawks supporters have to just keep their chin up and keep plugging away. But 10th at the moment, 2 wins, 9 losses. Jimmy Hepburn continues to do the job up forward. The obvious comparisons there to Stevie Milne. He's not the most popular player in the competition, but I tell you what, you'd love to have him in your forward line because he kicks goals and he gets under the skin of the opposition. He's great. Their best performance was around 10, the win against Kilmore, the come from behind win. Fantastic for the Hawks and really would have built them up. Of course, Daniel Martin, the hero, moved from centre back to the forward line, kicked the couple.
Yeah, and Backman always likes to do that, kick the winning goal. Best and fairest fancy at the moment is Jesse Shepherd, the captain. Geez, that kid's impressive. What a footballer he's turned out to be, and Woodend will be rapt and hope that he's got a long future there because he's a real talent. They've got a tough year, but the young blokes are building and they are getting better. They're just going to have to continue to improve. And make sure that they continue to improve for the rest of this year to give them hope going into next year. Their strength is their run and carry through the half-back line. In the games I've seen, they really have built well from the half-back line. They broke down across half-forward because they probably lacked that big target. Quinny, you'd love to have 2 or 3 of him, wouldn't you?
Certainly would,
Ruckman at centre half forward and full forward, but unfortunately they don't, and that's probably where they break down. Their weakness is probably they're just a class level below the sides above them, and look, that'll hopefully come. They've got blokes like Quinn and Shepherd and these guys that will really help them get to that level, but yeah, they're still a fair way off it. I think they will struggle for the remainder of the season. I have given them 1 more win for the year. I think they'll finish on 3 wins, 15 losses, but I do think they'll finish on the bottom.
Well, let's certainly see how that pans out. I mean, being a Hawks boy, we'll be cheering on to the death, mate. So.
As you should.
The mighty brown and gold. We'll see one day, mate. But no, it goes to show the level of competition very strong here in the RDFL, and anything can happen in a week. And probably more so in the top 6. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Wallen sort of sneak up and maybe get some wins.
The next few weeks are going to be outstanding weeks of football. We've got some really good games coming up that's at both ends of the ladder. And I mean, I think the bottom sides are generally, from people within the competition, are underrated. But this year I've had the opportunity to check out a couple of games with the perceived bottom sides involved, and they've been really good quality games of football.
Let's hope that standard continues, and you'll be able to catch some of them, Gab, on 100.7 Highlands FM.
Absolutely.
So we've been very, very excited at the station to be able to cover a game every single week. Just some of the games we're covering, and keeping in mind our ambition is to try and cover all the teams and give some of the other teams a red hot crack as well. We'll be down at Riddle. They'll be taking on Romsey, Macedon v Woodend Heskett. Romsey and Wallen should be a mouth-watering clash, and then we'll be at Woodend, Riddle, Macedon and Woodend to close out the season. And I don't bank on that Woodend game against Riddle going at Woodend, so I wouldn't be surprised if it gets moved anywhere else. And we have done games where have moved twice. We've done 2 games at Woodend, and we've been out of Kyneton and been out of Trentham. So happy days.
that happens, and hopefully all our grounds maintain, and we're able to get through the rest of the season without sides having to switch and do those sorts of things. But you know, the weather's certainly not helping us out there. That's not being too kind.
Not the rain at this point in time. But Gav, sensational job on your first shot.
Thanks, mate.
At the,
Appreciate it.
And hopefully one of many more. And we thank you for your company during this first edition of the 2012 Riddle District Football League Web TV program. And Gav, we're going to be seeing these guys at the footy.
Absolutely.
Thanks.